Part 1. The day the world stopped. The first thing I remember is the phone ringing. Not the gentle trill of my alarm or the predictable buzz of a text message. No, this was a call. Calls carry weight. Calls wake you like a fist on the door. I was post-call, sprawled out on the bed in my scrubs, smelling faintly of formula and antiseptic. My wife, Claire, was already gone for her run. She always went early, before the twins woke up screaming. I half-registered her whisper, "Goodbye," the door closing, the thump of her sneakers fading into the dawn. I meant to kiss her back. I meant to say, "Be safe." Instead, I grunted, turned my face into the pillow, and fell back into exhaustion. The phone jolted me awake. "Mr. Myers?" A voice, too calm. A nurse's voice. "This is St. Luke's Emergency Department. Are you Claire Myers' husband?" I sat upright. My heart was already pounding like it knew what my brain hadn't caught up to yet. "Yes. I'm so sorry to tell you." The words blurred. Struck by a car, severe trauma, despite resuscitation attempts. I don't remember putting shoes on. I don't remember the drive. All I remember is the color red. Traffic lights bleeding into each other, the tail lights of cars in front of me, the stop sign where I nearly slammed into another vehicle because my hands shook too much to grip the wheel. And then, the silence of the hospital hallway. The air smelled like chlorhexidine and floor wax, sterile and suffocating. A doctor I didn't know tried to explain what had happened. She was young, probably a resident like me. Her eyes looked at me like I was a case study, like she was writing my grief down in bullet points. But none of it mattered. Claire was gone. I saw her, cold, still. My wife, who laughed too loudly at sitcoms, who snorted when she laughed so hard it surprised even her, who sang off-key to the twins in the kitchen while making coffee. She lay there like a mannequin, dressed in her running clothes. I wanted to scream, but my body betrayed me. My throat locked up, my face crumpled without sound. And then, like life is cruel enough to stack tragedy on top of tragedy, my phone buzzed again. A text. The twins had woken up at the neighbor's where Claire had dropped them off. They were hungry. They were crying. I was still staring at my dead wife when I realized the crying would never stop because I had no idea what the fuck I was supposed to do. The funeral was a blur of casseroles and cliches. People meant well. They always do. She's in a better place. God has a plan. You're so strong. I don't know how you do it. Strong? I wasn't strong. I was a husk wearing a tie I hadn't ironed. I was the guy who had to walk back to a house where Claire's shoes still sat by the door, where her coffee mug from that morning still waited on the counter. The twins, Lily and Noah, toddled around in their tiny black outfits, oblivious. They clapped when the church organ played. They squealed when someone picked them up, too young to understand that the world had cracked open. People offered help. They always do. In the first week. Meals, babysitting, a GoFundMe one of Claire's college friends started without asking me. It was kind, but kindness doesn't change diapers at 3 a.m. Kindness doesn't balance with a 24-hour hospital call. I was drowning. Residency doesn't pause for grief. Pediatrics doesn't care that your life has imploded. The pager still goes off. The codes still run. The babies still need intubation and IVs and soothing words whispered to their terrified parents. "Dr. Myers, room 203. Dr. Myers, can you sign off on this? Dr. Myers, your intern is falling behind." And in between, my phone buzzing with the daycare reminding me I was late on pickup. My babysitter texting that she couldn't cover the overnight. The twins' cries leaking through the walls when I tried to sleep. I chose medicine because I wanted to help children. Now I couldn't even help my own. There's a particular cruelty in being a pediatric resident with children. You see everything. RSV bronchiolitis, shaken baby syndrome, a toddler with leukemia. You hold hands of parents who sob beside PICU beds, who whisper prayers over ventilators. And now, every parent's grief looked like mine. When I walked into exam rooms, I saw myself reflected back. The exhausted faces, the trembling hands, the desperate questions. Except they still had their partners. They still had someone to tag team the nights, someone to text when the wait got too much. I had no one. The breaking point came 3 weeks after Claire's death. It was 2 a.m. in the resident lounge. I had just finished a code blue on a 5-year-old. We lost him. His mother's wails still rattled in my skull. I sat there, hands trembling, half a sandwich in my lap when my phone buzzed. The babysitter. They won't stop crying. I can't get them down. I need you to come home. I stared at the message. I stared at my pager buzzing again. And I broke. I walked outside, sat on the curb, and sobbed. Not the controlled silent tears I had trained myself to allow, but the ugly heaving sobs that left snot on your shirt and bile in your throat. I couldn't do it. I couldn't save dying children at the hospital and raise 2 living ones at home. I couldn't work 80 hours a week and keep bottles washed and lullabies sung. I couldn't be both resident and father, not without losing my mind. That night, I made the decision. I called my program director at 7 a.m. and told her I was taking a leave of absence. She didn't sound surprised. She didn't try to stop me. She just sighed and said she hoped I'd find my way back when I was ready. I didn't know if I ever would. The house was too quiet during the day. The twins napped. The sunlight streamed across the hardwood floors, and for the first time in years, I had nothing to do. I thought I'd feel relief. Instead, I felt emptiness. Residency was my life. Claire was my anchor. Both were gone. Now what was left? The twins. 2 small, fragile lives depending on me. I looked at them sleeping in their cribs, cheeks flushed, fists curled. They looked like her. Lily had her eyes, Noah had her smile. And I realized they weren't just my responsibility. They were my reason. But how the hell was I supposed to be enough?
Part 2. The longest days. The twins didn't care that their mother was gone. That's the cruelest truth. They woke up hungry. They cried when they were wet. They laughed when I tickled their bellies, just like before. To them, the world was still safe, predictable, full of bottles and soft blankets and the sound of someone's voice. But to me, everything was cracked glass. The first morning after my leave from residency, I woke up late. The sun was already bright, pouring through the blinds. The twins were shrieking in their cribs. For the first time in years, there was no pager screaming at me, no checklist of patients waiting, just them. I stumbled into the nursery, still in the same sweatpants I'd worn for 3 days. The smell hit me first. 2 diaper blowouts at once. Claire would have laughed. Double the fun, she used to say, pinching her nose dramatically. I gagged, wrestling with wipes and tiny legs kicking like windmills. Noah peed on me mid-change. Lily shoved her pacifier onto the floor, screaming like she'd been betrayed. By the time both were clean and dressed, I was drenched in sweat, and it wasn't even 9 a.m. How the hell had Claire made this look so easy?
Feeding them was a circus. They didn't want bottles at the same time. They didn't nap at the same time. They didn't cry in harmony. They traded shifts, like little agents of chaos working against me. I sat on the living room floor with the baby in each arm, trying to hold bottles at the right angles. Formula dribbled down my shirt. My phone buzzed with unread texts from colleagues, condolences, check-ins, half-hearted offers to help. I couldn't even answer. All I could do was cry silently while the twins sucked on their bottles, oblivious. I had intubated newborns, sutured arteries, declared time of death with steady hands. But I couldn't keep my own kids from screaming for more milk. Nights were worse. The house was too big without her. The bed too empty. Every creak sounded like an intruder. Every silence like an accusation. I used to fall asleep to the sounds of Claire's soft breathing beside me. Now the monitor crackled with static, punctuated by wails. I'd stumble into their room at 2 a.m., try to rock them both at once, muttering half-remembered lullabies. Twinkle, twinkle, little goddamn star. They cried anyway. One night, after hours of rocking and pacing, I broke. I sank to the carpet with both babies in my lap, my head against the crib. I can't do this. I can't do this without her. But their tiny fingers wrapped around mine, gripping like lifelines. And somehow I made it to morning. Help came in strange ways. My neighbor, Mrs. Alvarez, knocked on the door one afternoon with a tray of empanadas and stayed for 3 hours bouncing Noah on her hip while Millie smeared peas across her high chair tray. A nurse from my program, Jamie, texted to say she'd cover a night shift with the kids once a week. No arguments. She showed up with bags of groceries and a kind of maternal competence that made me both grateful and humiliated. I hated needing help, but I needed it. The hardest part was the moments of stillness. When the twins napped and the house was finally quiet, I'd find myself wandering into Claire's closet. Her clothes still hung there, her perfume still lingering in the fabric. I'd press my face against her sweater and inhale until my chest hurt. Grief is sneaky. It's not just the big moments, the funeral, the phone call. It's the tiny ambushes. The song she loved playing in the grocery store. Her handwriting on a sticky note by the fridge. The empty space on the couch when a movie starts. Those were the moments that gutted me. 3 weeks into my leave, I tried to take the twins to the park. It seemed simple enough. Fresh air, sunshine, other parents pushing strollers, normalcy. I loaded the double stroller, packed diapers and bottles, wrestled them into tiny shoes. By the time I finally got out the door, I was already sweating. At the park, other parents smiled politely, but their eyes lingered on me. The lone dad, clearly out of his depth. I caught snippets of whispers, "So young. Must be hard without." One mom, cheerful in yoga pants, asked, "Is mom home resting today?" The question hit like a sucker punch. I froze. "She's not around anymore." Her smile faltered. "I'm so sorry." Then she hurried away, embarrassed. I wanted to scream, not at her, but at the whole world, at the unfairness of it all. Instead, I sat on the park bench, watching Lily clap her hands and Noah kick his feet, their laughter echoing like nothing had changed. maybe for them, nothing had. That night, as I laid them down to sleep, I whispered to Claire in the dark, "I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to be both parents. I don't even know how to be me anymore." Silence answered. But in the crib, Lily stirred, half awake, and whispered her first word, "Dada." It broke me open. For the first time since she died, I smiled through the tears. Maybe I couldn't do this alone, but maybe, just maybe, I didn't have to.
Part 3. Learning to breathe again. It started with a flyer. Crumpled in the bottom of the diaper bag, stuck between a crushed pack of wipes and a pacifier with lint clinging to it. I almost threw it out. Single Parents Meetup, Tuesdays at 10 a.m., Community Center. Normally, I'd have laughed. I didn't have time for meetups. I barely had time to shower. But something about the word community snagged me. I hadn't been part of one in months. So that Tuesday, against every instinct screaming to stay home, I packed the twins, wrangled the stroller, and drove to the brick building with peeling paint and a rainbow flag in the window. The community center smelled like coffee and crayons. A dozen kids crawled across foam mats while their parents hovered, chatting with that easy camaraderie I'd forgotten adults could have. I stood frozen at the doorway, clutching the stroller like a shield. My shirt had spit up on the shoulder. I hadn't shaved in 4 days. I looked like a fraud who'd stumbled into the wrong room. Then a woman with a toddler on her hip waved me over. "You must be new. Come on in." Her name was Sarah. She had dark circles under her eyes, hair in a messy bun, and a smile that didn't look forced. "Twins?" she asked, peeking into the stroller. "Yeah," I muttered. 14 months. "God bless you," she laughed, shifting the toddler onto her other hip. "I thought one was bad enough." And just like that, the tension cracked. The first hour was chaos. Toys flying, snacks spilling, kids crying. But for once, I wasn't the only exhausted parent in the room. Everyone looked as wrecked as I felt. We swapped war stories. A dad named Mike admitted he'd put a diaper on backwards and didn't notice until the crib looked like a crime scene. A mom named Tanya confessed she sometimes hid in the bathroom just to eat Oreos in peace. I found myself laughing, real laughter, the kind that shakes loose in your chest. It didn't erase the grief, but it reminded me I wasn't alone in it. After the meetup, Sarah walked with me to the parking lot. "You should come next week," she said. "It helps, trust me." I don't know. I hedged. I'm not exactly social right now. She shrugged. "None of us are. That's why we're here." I drove home with that sentence echoing in my head. The following week, I went back. And the week after that. Slowly, it became routine. The twins loved it. New toys, new faces, endless Cheerios. I loved it because for 2 hours, I could talk to adults who understood the exhaustion, the guilt, the small triumphs. It wasn't therapy, but it was close. One Thursday, I found myself sitting in the community center kitchen with Mike, the backwards diaper dad. He was stirring sugar into his coffee like it wronged him. "You in medicine, right?" "Yeah, pediatrics." That explains the zombie look. He grinned. "I'm in construction. Long hours, but nothing like you guys." We talked about work, about kids, about wives we'd lost. His wife had died of breast cancer when their daughter was 3. He spoke about it plainly. No pity, no drama. First year is the hardest. After that, it's still hard, but you get stronger, or
Maybe you just get used to carrying the weight. I nodded, throat tight. I didn't know which possibility scared me more. Being part of that group didn't magically fix anything. Nights were still long, diapers still endless. But there was a shift. I wasn't drowning alone anymore. When the twins had fevers, Tanya texted me home remedies. When I couldn't figure out how to fold the goddamn playpen, Mike came over with beer and solved it in 5 minutes. When I needed someone to just sit in the house while I showered, Sarah showed up, her toddler in tow. It wasn't family, but it was something like one. One Saturday, the group organized a picnic at the park. I almost didn't go. Logistics with twins felt impossible. But somehow, I got us there. We spread blankets under the trees, kids running in every direction. The sun was warm, the air full of laughter. For the first time since Claire's death, I felt something close to normal. I watched Lily toddle after Bubbles, her curls bouncing, while Noah clapped his hands at a dog chasing a frisbee. And a thought struck me. Maybe this was what healing looked like. Not forgetting, not replacing, just learning to breathe again, one small laugh at a time. That night, when I tucked the twins in, I whispered to Claire again. "They laughed today," I said softly. "They laughed so hard it scared the dog. You would have loved it." I paused, touching the crib rail. "I think we're going to be okay. Not yet, but someday." The room was quiet, but in that silence for the first time in months, I felt her. Not in the closet or the perfume bottle, in the kids' laughter, in the kindness of strangers turned friends, in the fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, we weren't broken beyond repair. Part 4, The Crossroads. The email came on a Monday morning. I was sitting at the kitchen table, half asleep, shoveling Cheerios into Lovey's mouth while Noah banged a plastic spoon against the high chair like a tiny drummer. The twins were sticky with milk, my shirt smelled faintly of diapers, and the sink was overflowing with bottles I hadn't washed. Then my phone buzzed. From Dr. Patel, Program Director. "We're reaching out to discuss your timeline for returning to residency. We'd love to have you back this summer. Please let us know if you'd like to set up a call." I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. Residency. The life I had worked for since college. The career Claire had believed in, cheered for, sacrificed sleep and weekends so I could chase. And now, I didn't know if I could go back. That night, after the twins finally crashed, I sat in the living room scrolling through old photos. Me in my white coat, me and Claire at med school graduation, Claire holding the twins, exhausted but smiling, whispering, "You're going to be such a good doctor, but don't forget to be a dad too." Her words echoed like a warning. Was going back to residency betraying that promise? Or was giving it up betraying everything we had built together? The next day, I brought it up at the meetup. "They want me back," I said quietly, watching Noah chew on a block. "My program, this summer." Mike whistled low. "That soon?" Sarah tilted her head. "Do you want to go back?" I opened my mouth, closed it again. I don't know. I miss it. I miss medicine. I miss being useful. But I can't figure out how the hell I'd make it work with the kids. I barely survive the days now. Tanya nodded, passing her toddler a juice box. "You'd need a lot of support, like serious support." I laughed bitterly. Support costs money. Residents don't exactly swim in cash. No one argued. They just sat there, nodding, letting the weight of it hang in the air. A week later, I tried a test run. Jamie, the nurse who sometimes babysat, offered to watch the twins for 12 hours straight while I shadowed a day shift at the hospital. Walking through those automatic doors again felt like stepping into another life. The smell of antiseptic, the hum of monitors, the chaos of nurses wheeling carts down the hallways, it all rushed back. For a moment, I felt alive. I rounded with the team, listened to case presentations, even examined a toddler with pneumonia. The old instincts kicked in. The way I talked to the parents, the way I listened to the crackle in the lungs, it felt like slipping into a suit that still fit, even after months in storage. But by the end of the day, exhaustion hit me like a truck. My phone was full of texts from Jamie. Lily won't nap. Noah's teething. I'm running out of Tylenol. I drove home dreading what I'd find. Jamie looked wrecked. They were nonstop. I don't know how you do this every day. Neither did I. I scooped the twins into my arms, kissed their sweaty heads, and felt guilt claw at my chest. I had missed a whole day of their lives. Just one day, and it already felt like I was failing them. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table with bills spread out, daycare estimates, babysitter rates, student loans still looming. Residency meant 80-hour weeks, night shifts, holidays gone. It meant missing first steps, first words, birthdays. But not going back meant giving up the career I had bled for, the career Claire believed in, the career that could someday provide stability for the twins. It felt like no matter what I chose, I was betraying someone. Claire, the kids, myself. 2 days later, Dr. Patel called. "Daniel, we'd love to have you back. You're a strong resident. We understand you've been through an unimaginable loss, but medicine is a calling. You belong here." Her voice was steady, kind, persuasive. I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles whitened. "I don't know if I can do both," I admitted. There was a pause. Plenty of residents are parents. Not plenty of residents are single parents of twins. Silence again. Then gently, "Think about the long term, Daniel. Think about the physician you want to become." After the call, I sat staring at the twins playing on the floor. They giggled as Lily tried to shove a block into Noah's mouth. Long term. But what about right now? The next weekend, the group met for coffee. I spilled everything. The email, the shadow shift, the call. I feel like I'm being torn in two. Doctor, dad, I can't figure out how to be both. Mike leaned forward, his expression serious. "You can be both, but not perfectly. Something's always gonna give." Sarah touched my arm. "You just have to decide what you're willing to sacrifice and what you're not." The words sat heavy, because I already knew what I wasn't willing to sacrifice. I just wasn't ready to admit it. That night, as I rocked Noah to sleep, I whispered into the dark, "Claire, what would you want me to do? Keep chasing the dream or stay here with them?" No answer came. Just the sound of Noah's breath evening out, his small hand clutching my shirt. And maybe that was the answer.
Part 5. A different kind of future. Summer crept up slowly, like a shadow I couldn't avoid. Every week, another email from the program. "Are you ready? Do you have a timeline?" I still hadn't answered. Then one morning, while the twins were busy smearing oatmeal across the table, I opened my laptop and searched something I'd never dared before. Non-clinical jobs for physicians. The list was longer than I expected. Medical writing, research, telemedicine, consulting. None of them carried the same prestige as the word doctor stitched on a white coat, but they carried something residency couldn't: flexibility, hours I could control, a chance to be present for Lily's first dance recital, Noah's first soccer game. Maybe medicine didn't have to look the way I thought it did. That night, I brought it up with the group. "Telemedicine," I said, testing the word out loud. I could see patients from home, flexible hours, decent pay. Not the same as residency, but you'd actually see your kids grow up," Sarah finished. Mike nodded. "Doesn't sound like failure to me. Sounds like survival." I thought about that, about how for so long I'd equated success with the grueling climb through residency, fellowship, and beyond.
But maybe success was just building a life where my kids didn't grow up wondering why dad was always gone. A week later, I set up an interview for a telehealth company. It felt surreal. Me, sitting in my living room in a button-down shirt, twins napping in the next room, explaining my skills in pediatrics to a recruiter on Zoom. The recruiter smiled. Honestly, you're exactly what we need. Pediatricians are in demand. You can set your own hours. We even offer part-time. When the call ended, I sat there stunned. For the first time in months, the future didn't feel like a wall. It felt like a door. Of course, the guilt still lingered. The voice in my head still whispered, "Claire believed in you. Claire wanted you to finish." One evening, I pulled out a box from the closet. Inside were her journals, her notes from the years when I was in med school and residency. On one page, scribbled between grocery lists and reminders, I found a line that stopped me cold. "Whatever happens, I just want you to be here for them. That's what matters." I sat there on the floor, holding that page, tears blurring the ink. Maybe she'd known. Maybe she'd always known. Life didn't magically get easier. The twins still woke up at 3 a.m. The house still felt too quiet sometimes. Grief still ambushed me at the sight of her favorite mug. But slowly, we found a rhythm. Mornings with oatmeal and cartoons, afternoons with stroller walks to the park, evenings where I logged onto the computer, headset in place, and greeted anxious parents through a screen. "Hi, I'm Dr. Myers. How can I help today?" I was still a doctor, just a different kind. And I was still a dad, a present one. One Sunday, the community group gathered for another picnic. The kids were bigger now, louder, faster. Lily ran across the grass, chasing Bubbles. Noah toddled after her, and their laughter filled the air. Mike clapped me on the back. "You look lighter," he said. Maybe I am," I admitted. For the first time, I don't feel like I'm failing them. Or her. He raised his soda can. "To new futures, then." I raised mine back. "To new futures." That night, after the twins finally collapsed into sleep, I stood at their door a long time, watching them breathe, cheeks flushed, mouth slack with dreams. And for the first time since that awful morning, I whispered, not with despair, but with quiet certainty. We're going to be okay. Not perfect, not easy, but okay. And that was enough. At LaLa Family, we believe that every story of family, whether it's about joy, struggle, loss, or new beginnings, has the power to connect us. Life is messy and unpredictable, but it's also filled with love, resilience, and moments worth sharing. That's why we've built this channel, to bring you powerful, heart-touching stories that remind us we're never truly alone. If you've ever faced hardship, if you've ever felt the weight of parenthood, or if you simply believe in the strength of love and community, this channel is for you. Our videos aren't just stories. They're windows into real human experiences that inspire hope, courage, and empathy. But we can't grow this community without you. By clicking subscribe, you're not just following a channel, you're joining a family. Every like helps us reach more people who may need to hear these stories right now. And every share spreads the message that even in the darkest times, there is always light to be found. So if these stories move you, if they make you think, or if they touch your heart even a little, don't just watch, take action. Hit that subscribe button, tap the like button, and share our videos with friends and loved ones. Together, we can build a community where stories heal, inspire, and bring people closer. Welcome to LaLa Family, where love, resilience, and hope live on.